divine laws working in the universe, and if we forget those laws, and if we get to see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the real fa'il, the real doer in creation. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ummati ummatun marhuma, ju'ila adabuha fi dunyaha." My ummah is a ummah that Allah has shown mercy to. Its punishment is in this world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that...
But does that mean the Muslims should accept whatever kind of...
They have to have istislam. We have to accept that everything is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It doesn't mean that you don't do something about it. But if you don't have sabr, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Al-ana khaffaf Allahu ankum wa alima anna fikum da'fa, right? He said, In takum minkum mi'atun sabira. If there's 100 of you, sabira, there's a nat. That's called a sifa in the Arabic language.
That's right.
You have to have that attribute. So if you're not sabira, you're not going to overcome 200 people who... Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
There's sunan in the creation. And istislam is the most important thing for the Muslims to do. Enter into a state of submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ubudiyya. If we realize our servanthood to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah elevates the servant. But if you continue to be in this type of...
you will not get anywhere.
You won't get anywhere. And we're just spinning our wheel.
Yusuf pointed a very interesting point. He said, of course, this conspiracy theory, something needs to be done. So you're suggesting a submission to God and for every Muslim to check his actions and to see whether it's in the right path or not.
I believe that the most important thing in the Muslim world is that Muslims, first of all, realize that it is behavior that elevates people. The Egyptian poet said, إِنَّمَا الْأُمَمُ الْأَخْلَاقُ مَا بَقِيَتْ فَإِنْهُمُ ذَهَبَتْ أَخْلَاقُهُم ذَهَبُوا. That nations are nothing other than their morals and their ethics. And if their morals and their ethics go, the nations go with it. And what we have to realize is that the Muslim world, the ethical standards of the Muslim world have reached such a low level that our position in the world now as objects of history and no longer subjects of history is a direct result of our ethical and moral standards that we allow in the world. I mean, if you go out into the Muslim world, I'll give you an example. We were in a marketplace in an Arab country, not Bahrain, but nearby, and I won't say which one. And there was a man there who was selling goods from Italy. And after the conversation opened up, and he admitted that they weren't actually made in Italy, they were made in Indonesia. But people wouldn't buy things that were made in Indonesia, so they had made in Italy put on them. Well, it was mentioned to him, "Man ghashana falaysa minna."
Cheating.
It's cheating. "Man ghashana falaysa minna." Whoever cheats us is not from amongst us. And he said, "Khuya hadha tijara." No, that is khiyana wa ghish. It's not tijara.
We have a call. Say it. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Hamza.
Alaikum assalam.
I have a question with you.
Go ahead.
Actually, I was listening to your interview with Tim Sebastian in Hot Tech program in BBC a couple of days back. During that interview, he was quoting that you are an advisor to George Bush on Islam. I would like to know, is that true?
Okay.
If yes, how do you represent on behalf of Muslim community living in United States?
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks then.
Yeah, I'm not...
There's a lot of people who have actually asked this question.
I was invited, and the invitation came through a person who works inside the White House who's a Muslim. His father, who was a very active Muslim, one of the founding members of the Muslim Student Association in America, was a close friend of mine. And his son was asked to find a scholar in the United States to meet with the president and express views, and the president wanted to express his views. So I was asked to do that. I took counsel with my teacher, Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayya, about doing that, and he told me that that I should do it. So I went to the White House. I did meet with the president, and I did talk. I was given an opportunity. It was quite extensive.
You actually helped in the changing of the name of the operation.
The name of the operation, I did mention that
infinite justice
was an attribute of God, and that it was prohibited not only in Islam but in Christianity as well to use this idea that human justice is always affected.
I think President Bush said that the Pentagon doesn't have theologians.
He didn't. He said that unfortunately there was not theologians in the Pentagon, and that they would change it, and they did change it to something else, enduring freedom or something.
And Mr. Hamza, I just wanted to ask a question. Of course, we spoke about the September 11th attacks, which happened in the United States at the beginning of our talk. And yesterday you had a discussion at Bayt al-Quran of the aftermath of the September 11th attacks. As an American Muslim, can you describe what was the feelings in America? Of course, we all saw it on television, as you said yesterday. Most of the Arab and the Islamic world and the rest of the world saw it through television. But how was the situation down there in America?
Yeah, I think the Americans went into a state of deep shock.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was shock. I think for the Muslim world, there are a lot of Muslims that feel that this has been business as usual in many parts of the Muslim world. I think there's something qualitatively different about what happened on September 11th than what has happened in other places. Unfortunately, the Americans, and I think this is one of the shameful parts of our history, the Americans bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki with an atomic bomb. Over 100,000 people died from the atomic devastation that occurred there. Most of them were actually civilians, and many of them were old people. So I think that, you know, unfortunately, the tragedies do happen. And I think from my perspective, there's metaphysical implications that are important about what happened on September 11th. From a religious perspective, whether you're a Christian, a Jew, or a Muslim, we do view the world in metaphysical terms. The secular materialist does not. So I think because of secularism and materialism being the dominant philosophy, particularly in the West, it's difficult for people to view this in metaphysical terms. For Muslims, they tend to view things in metaphysical terms. I mean, they do...